Hello everybody, my name is Barry Kessler and thanks for joining me on this episode of the Southern California Real Estate Answer Man show. If you're watching this show, it's because you are a home seller more than likely, or you're thinking about selling your home, and you want to know what it costs to sell a home right here in Southern California. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. If you are watching this, it means that you own a piece of property. It means that at one time you bought a house, right? So you know what it takes to purchase the house, but there is the other side of the coin, and that's the seller. Think back when you bought your house. Did you pay your real estate agent? I'm going to tell you right now, you didn't, okay? You might think, oh yeah, I did. No, you didn't. The person that paid the real estate agent that found your house and drove you around and sold it to you is the seller of the house. And he got a commission that was paid by the home seller to his brokerage, and then he got part of that commission. So let's talk a little bit about what it costs to sell a home in Southern California. What are these closing costs for a home seller? So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what your real estate agent is going to do when they come to talk to you about selling your home. The first thing that they're going to bring, beside a killer listing presentation hopefully, is going to be a net sheet. And what is a net sheet? A net sheet is going to show you your costs to sell the house. It's going to basically itemize all of those costs. And if the agent happens to know what your loan payoff on your mortgage happens to be, then you can pretty much get an idea of what you are going to get when everything is all paid, when you actually sell your home. That's the net sheet, what you're going to net. So let's talk about the most, let's just go ahead and I'm going to go down the line of the items, and we're going to talk about each one individually. So first of all, number one is commissions. What is a commission going to cost? Let's base this whole entire scenario on a $500,000 house, since right now it seems to be the median price of homes here in the middle of 2015, okay, in Southern California. So we're going to take a look at the commissions. Most realtors are going to charge between 5 and 6% of the sale price in commissions to you. So if you think about that, and by the way, it's geographical. If you're up in Northern California, it's going to be 6, it might even be 7%. Down here in Southern California, 5, 5.5, 6%. So let's just say 5%. On a $500,000 property, that's going to run $25,000. The next thing that, and then of course let's talk a little bit about the $25,000. The $25,000 is split between the listing agent, the person that you hire to sell your house, and the selling agent, the person that brings the buyer to your house. So that's going to be in the case of 5% commission, that's 2.5% to the listing agent, and it's 2.5% to the selling agent, okay? And of course it doesn't go to the agent, it goes to the broker. The broker breaks those down, and then the commissions are paid out through the brokerage. Sometimes, if you happen to find if your listing agent, if your realtor actually happens to find a buyer and does both sides of the transaction, sometimes that listing agent will give the seller a break in the commissions. And so instead of taking the entire 5% commission, that particular agent might just take 4% total. That's just, you know, on a $500,000 house, that's a lot of money. So that kind of a deal, though, needs to be negotiated when you are signing that agreement to list your home. So think about that when you're negotiating with your agent. If your agent says, you know, if you say to your agent, look, what happens if you sell both sides? Do I get some sort of a discount? You might want to ask for that. All right, let's talk about the next thing. Now, the next thing on my list is real estate brokerage fees. Generally speaking, every transaction that runs through some real estate office is going to have a fee. And that fee generally is somewhere between $300 and $500. It's the cost of running a transaction through an office. You might consider it a desk fee, for example, for a real estate agent. So there you go, real estate broker processing fee. Next, you have title fees. What is title? What are these title fees? Well, title basically is, and if you go to one of my episodes of the Southern California Real Estate Answer Man show, I talk about title. I talk about title insurance, and I actually interview a title representative. So take a look at that. You can learn all about title insurance and what it is. But basically, you as the seller are going to have to present your home free and clear of all kinds of liens, government liens, bank liens, mechanics liens, all kinds of things like that. Disputes, for example, all those things a title insurance company is going to look into. They're going to look at your property, and then they're going to determine whether or not they can insure title so that it's free and clear for the next buyer. Title insurance on a $500,000 house is going to run about $1,400, $1,450 or so. Next, escrow fees. Escrow, again, go to another episode of the Real Estate Answer Man show and we talk about escrow. We talk about what escrow does. Escrow basically is the neutral party in the transaction. They take instructions from the selling side and they take instructions from the buying side. They take a look at the purchase agreement and any kind of addendums and things that go back and forth between the buyer and the seller, and then they write up escrow instructions basically by following that. We're going to, again, you can look at that. Escrow does things like pay off loans, move paper back and forth. Escrow fees are determined by taking the $250 base price and then about $2.50 per $1,000 of the sale price. So on a $500,000 house, your escrow fees are going to run around $1,500. On top of the $1,500 escrow fee, escrow is going to also have a couple things thrown in. There's going to be a documentation fee of $75. There's going to be a loan payoff if you happen to have a loan. That's going to be about $50. There's a wire fee to wire money back and forth. That's $25. And then there's archive fees. That's about $50. So, total everything, escrow is going to run about $1,750 or so. Next, you have government retrofit. What's government retrofit? Well, government retrofit in Southern California, a lot of it is earthquake related. So when they're talking about government retrofit, they're asking, is your water heater properly strapped and braced where it is residing? Is it sitting in a pan so that if it were to burst, the water would go into the pan and then maybe be redirected somewhere else out of your house? What other retrofits are there? There's carbon monoxide. Is there a CO detector in the house? Here in California, you need to have one by any of the living areas. So if you've got a hallway where there's 3 bedrooms, the carbon monoxide goes right there in that hallway. Smoke alarms, that's part of the retrofit. What other things? Oh, if you're in LA County, you're going to need to have a gas meter shutoff valve for an earthquake, in case there's an earthquake. That needs to be installed. That can be expensive. That could be like $300, $400. So, all of these different kinds of retrofits, they're going to cost money. How much it's going to cost you depends on how much work has already been done. Is your water heater strapped? Again, you have to take care of your earthquake valve over there on your gas meter. So those are all things that can cost you money if they haven't been done yet. In Ventura County, and actually in Burbank, as a matter of fact, they don't require that gas shutoff valve just yet, but it'll be coming, there's no doubt about it. So those are the things for government retrofit. Next, HOA transfer disclosures, documents, things like that. If you are in an area where there is a homeowners association, if there's an HOA present, then there are documents that the buyer is going to need to see. And those HOAs, they love to charge for these documents and for the CC&Rs, and we're going to talk about that too in another episode. We're going to talk about HOAs and, you know, the good and the bad and the ugly about HOAs, usually the bad. But at any rate, those documents are going to cost you anywhere from $100 to $500. So get ready for it if you live in a place where there is a homeowners association. Then next, there is flood certification, if it happens to apply. So let's talk about that. In Simi Valley, in parts of the valley, San Fernando Valley, in parts of Ventura County, there are flood zones that are set up, and they are identified by FEMA, and they are these 100-year flood zones. And so what they do is they go out and they collect, you know, a yearly premium, just, you know, so that they can basically, oh, I don't know, charge you money to take care of the people over along the Mississippi River or over in the hurricane areas or whatever it is. Whatever it is, if you have to pay flood insurance, I am sorry, but if you are in a flood zone, you have to get, if you're a homeowner, you have to show or certify that you are or you are not in a flood zone. And those certifications are done by specialists, and they can cost you as much as $500 for one of those flood certifications. So if you are in an area where there is a flood zone, look out. It also might affect, you know, the price that you can actually get for your home, because the buyer is going to have to pay a yearly premium for flood insurance. Next, the home warranty. Usually, and we talk about this also in another episode of the Southern California Real Estate Answer Man Show, go figure. We talk about a home warranty. Generally speaking, when you're selling your house as a gesture of good faith, the seller will provide and pay for a 1-year coverage warranty on parts of the house. And this happens to be in the purchase agreement. There is a section there where the buyer can ask for different things, different kinds of insurance. And so because they can ask, now the seller has to respond. So generally speaking, that can, if you're going to provide that, if you have very, very simple coverage, it can cost about $350. If you have like maximum coverage, it could cost you like $550. It all depends on your house. If you have a pool, if you have a spa, these are things that, if you have fountains, these are things that cost extra money. The buyer may want to pay a little extra on top of it, but you're going to be asked as the seller to pay for a 1-year warranty that covers stuff like air conditioner, plumbing, electric, things like that. So get ready. They're going to ask for it. Then there's the request for repairs. Let's talk a little bit about the request for repairs. The California Residential Purchase Agreement plainly states on page 4, paragraph 9, that unless otherwise agreed, the property is sold in its present physical as-is condition as of the date of acceptance. Now that's all well and good, but the buyer has an opportunity to perform inspections and request their repairs or maybe even request credit from the seller to compensate for repairs needed on the property. The seller, of course, has the right to refuse repair or to compensate for repairs, but sellers need to know that in most cases, buyers are going to be requesting repairs, and so they need to address those early on in the transaction. So what's going to happen is you as the seller are going to get from the buyer a a request for repairs from them after they've done their inspection. Again, as I said, you don't have to say yes to any of them, but again, they might be little things, but if they're really, really big things, you can just walk away and say no. I mean, it's totally up to you. You respond to the request for repairs with a paper called the RRRR. Don't laugh. It's the pirate response, okay? RRRR. The response to the request for repairs. And in that, you can address what they ask for in their request. So you can say, I'll do this maybe, and I'll do this maybe. Not maybe. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do this. You basically then send back your RRRR to the buyer, and then they look it over and they determine whether or not they want to proceed with the purchase, knowing about certain things that need to be repaired, or they'll look at that and go, oh, you were such a nice seller, oh my goodness. So, it all depends. So, but once again, every sale that is done here in the state of California is an as-is sale. You do not have to do any repairs. Just remember, they are going to ask for it. They're entitled to ask for it. That happens to be in the contract too. But in the contract it also says you can ask for it, but doesn't mean you're going to get it. Okay? Done with requests for repairs. Let's move on. Natural hazard disclosure statement. An NHD statement is going to cost you about $95, $85, $95, probably not more than $125. What's in this natural hazard disclosure? Well, what they talk about is they talk about flood zones, they talk about earthquake faults, they talk about toxic molds, they talk about information about airport noise, they talk about Megan's Law, they talk about all kinds of things that are naturally hazardous to your health. And that's what you're going to find there in that. So that's going to cost you around $100, right? $95 to $100. Now let's talk about county transfer taxes. On a $500,000 house in Ventura County, and actually in LA County too, it's about $550 for those transfer taxes. LA County also has some other taxes as well. They're always adding them, so don't get me verbatim on this. Don't worry. If there's a tax that they can dream up, they're going to charge you for it, okay? So don't worry about that. I know you're totally worried about that. Don't worry about that. All right. The next thing, the next thing that might cost you more than paying your real estate agent and the agent that finds the buyer for your house, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is paying off your mortgage and any liens that you happen to have on your property. So that's another thing that's going to be a cost to you, of course, is paying off all those debts that are tied to your home. And the escrow company is going to do that for you, so let's just say that they really are going to do all that for you. So let's talk a little bit about one thing that I didn't talk about, and that happens to be termites. If you bought a house, you'll remember that termite, and especially in Southern California, was a big deal. Things have changed a little bit here in Southern California. Up in Northern California, they did it the way that we are doing it now. Up till now, the seller was responsible for giving a house a termite inspection and also taking care of any of the really major termite damage that was done, including tenting the house. If there is any wood destroying pests that happen to be there of the munchy or wood kind of variety. So that used to be all on the seller. No more. What is happening now is that the termite is being done by the buyer. The buyer brings his inspectors to do the home inspection, and the buyer will also bring a termite inspector. And then whether or not that termite damage is repaired by the seller or by the buyer at a later date, or before they happen to move in, that is all worked out in the negotiations, just like you were going to be working out your request for repair negotiations. So just to give you like a heads up right now, for those of you that said, hey, what about termite? or for those of you who have already sold a house before and you're just coming back here for a little primer and saying, whoa, what about the termite? I had to pay all that money to get, my house tented for that other buyer. Well, it's changed. It's totally different. So let's just go ahead and let's touch once again on all of these items. Once again, you have the commissions. We're talking about, again, on a $500,000 house. Commissions, $25,000. The real estate broker processing fee, $350. Title fees, about $1,500. Escrow fees, $1,700. Government retrofit, let's just say $100, but it all really depends. It depends on what happens to be going on with your house. Remember, we talked about that before. HOA transfer documents, if you happen to be in the HOA, again, it could be $0 to $500. Flood certification could be $500, could be absolutely nothing. Home warranty, figure around $500. Request for repairs, all depends on the shape that your home happens to be in. Your natural hazard disclosure statement is going to be about $95. County transfer taxes, about $550. And then whatever it costs you to pay off your mortgage, that's what we're talking about there. So with all of this particular, all of these things that I put together, with a 5% commission, you're looking at a little bit, somewhere around 6% of the total sale price of the home will be basically what you will be paying out in order to sell your house. These are closing costs for you home sellers. So I want to thank you very much for making it all the way through this. I want to invite you to listen to my podcasts and read my blogs over at the Simi Valley Real Estate Answerman.com. And you can find all of my podcasts over on iTunes, of course, or on my website there. And if you have any questions, pick up the phone, give me a call. I happen to be a real estate agent. I work with my wife here at Troop Real Estate. We are top producers here at Troop, and we are hoping that you will hire us to sell your house for the most money, for the least amount of hassle, and in the quickest time possible. So thank you again for joining me. Take a look at my blog and my explanation here. The show notes here will take you to my website. Once again, thanks for joining me here. I'm Barry Kessler, the Real Estate Answerman.